I am so excited today because I get to interview one of my newest favorite people. You might have heard of her. Her name is author M.K. Stelmack. And big news, she has a book coming out next week. What day is it exactly, Miss M.K. Stelmack?
Well, actually, it is sort of already out. A Family for Thanksgiving. It's the second in my trilogy. It's funny. I will get so immersed in the book, and then once it's done and once it's released, I feel like almost like an intruder because really now it's the reader's book. Yeah, I'm just sort of a bystander, and I kind of just prefer hearing what other people think of it because the journey for me is done. When I submitted it to the editor months ago, it is kind of interesting to watch how now the journey begins for the other readers uh, with the characters. Yeah.
So, what kind of tropes could we expect from this new book?
You can expect city girl, country boy, a little bit of fish out of water. You can expect a little bit of friends to lovers friends to forevers, although it's also got a little bit of edge of enemies to lovers. I would also even say a bit of forced proximity because they are forced to deal with a situation that requires them to really dig deep inside their own fears and come to a resolution. So yeah, there's a few going on there.
What motivated you to write this one?
My editor, she suggested that I write a holiday story, and I've already written one, All They Want for Christmas. And then, which is kind of a little bit of a favorite of mine, I explored some themes there that were a bit challenging. And then she suggested that I do a Thanksgiving one. But this is sort of a different Thanksgiving because it's a Canadian Thanksgiving. Because you'd learn about traditions here in Canada. The big one is Canadians celebrate Thanksgiving in October, not November. I really loved the cover on this one because it was very, very autumn. The art department really captured the warmth between the characters, and of course Sadie, who is probably trumps or some scenes in the book because even though she's 5 years old, she takes over some of the scenes. I will try to give a brief synopsis. It's really hard. And one of the things that writers always say is that it's really hard to do a brief synopsis of a book that they've gone so deep into. But what has happened is 5-year-old Sadie has lost both her parents. She lost her mother when she was born, when Sadie was born, and she has recently lost her father. This leaves her in the custody of foster care until they can find a living situation with her nearest living relative. Well, there happens to be two. One is her aunt, her father's sister, and the other one is her mother's brother. Both of them have only met Sadie very few times, although they do love her. Now, Sadie was raised for her first 5 years out in a highly isolated part of northern Alberta. And for that reason, her aunt, Natalia, is willing to take on the raising of Sadie because she believes that she can offer her a much more superb life in Calgary with all its amenities. Natalia herself grew up in the same isolated location, and she feels that it damaged her emotionally and psychologically, and she would never want that for her niece. Brock Holloway, on the other hand, believes that country life it would serve Sadie the best at this point in her life, and he would love to have her on his ranch. So there are some other issues at play, but largely they must come to terms with what is actually best for Sadie.
So you've talked before about how any characters that demonstrate some kind of self-sacrifice, you love reading about them and you love writing about them. So would you like to comment on that?
Yes, I think for both of them, they're having to give up a tremendous amount to have Sadie in their lives. For Natalia, she's going to have to negotiate away her entire career that she has built up for herself. And for Brock, he has always been able to have the solitary individualist life. He's only ever had to take care of himself. And to have to suddenly become the sole caregiver for this little girl who is going through her own grieving completely throws him for a loop. And I think that trying to do the best for another person for them is the greatest sacrifice when they are unsure how even sometimes to deal with themselves. I like to write emotional journeys, right? And sometimes my editor has this love dread with my books because she loves to read them, but she dreads the fact that she knows that somewhere in it she is going to end up bawling her eyes out. With this book, apparently, I made her bawl twice. So I call it my two-baller book.
It's a two-baller.
Yes.
2 out of
yes.
2 farm gals call it a two-baller book.
Yeah. only we would, right? So.
I like that. I like that ranking system. We'll have to use that in a future show.
And then my third one, apparently, she didn't mention crying.
When is that one coming out?
I believe April. It will wrap up the trilogy, and it'll feature Grace, who was introduced in the first book, A Family for the Rancher. And a lot of people have been sort of hankering after her story because she was so feisty in the first one, and she does play a role in this one as well. I guess maybe it's hard to cry over someone who's so feisty and can stand up for herself. But
well, that remains to be seen. It might be a one-baller at least.
yes. Yeah, there was one scene. Actually, she didn't cry, but the line editor got quite emotional in a couple of spots because of the minor character again. So, well, I won't go into that, but
we'll talk about that closer to April.
Closer to April, yeah.
So what else is coming up for you? I think you're working on another exciting project as well.
Between all my spare time, I am working on the developmental edits for a historical. And this historical is almost historical in and of itself because I've been working on it now for, well, 20 years. You know, into my defense, I kind of raised a family and wrote 9 other novels too. So, you know, it wasn't like I was laying on my couch smoking perfume cigarettes or as I was doing it, you know, or anything like that. So, but yeah, so it's occupying my time and I hope to release it next year. I was thinking May, it might be July, but I do have a title and a cover for it. It's called The Tsar's Angel. It is a historical set in St. Petersburg in 1825 in the months leading up to the Decembrist Revolution, which was the first revolution in Russia. I've got palaces and an emperor or two. I've got the landscape around there and yes, lots of interesting secondary characters. I got some subplots. I got some smuggling going on there. Did I mention an assassin or two? So I've got quite a few things going on in that one. And of course, at the heart of it all, a love story. The man she loves stands in the way of the man she has vowed to kill.
That's a complicated romance.
That's a complicated one. Yes. That's why I think it is taking me about 135,000 words to tell.
People will find out here about when that book is coming out, updates on it, but they could also go into the information on this file, and I'll put your site here, but they can find you on your Substack, they can find you on your website, they can find you on Facebook as well to keep in the loop about that release. And I believe there would be a link to pick up your latest release.
It's mostly available as an ebook on all your favorite vendors. So you can pick it up there. Do you like my shirt? I just want everyone to know that I deliberately wore this shirt so you would know what my writing shirt is. It is one of my flannel shirts that I love to wear when I am writing. And I'll even put this on in the summertime. Open a window and put on my flannel shirt because it's just perfect comfiness. This is the real deal, right? And my water bottle. I always have my water bottle close by that I always place on this saucer. Because my son made that saucer.
No.
This is where all the magic happens. I'm going to try to pivot it for you folks. Yes. So this is my writing desk.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Don't go. I hope this is not too there. Isn't it a mess?
I'm not going to show you mine. I guess you can see behind me anyway.
Well, then you know that it's the real deal. And yes, as I pivot around, you're getting a glimpse of my bookshelves, which actually go on both sides of my office.
Oh, look, there's another book you wrote. You're
Oh,
just
yes.
surrounded by books you wrote.
Yes. Actually, to have an office, it's such a luxury now. When I wrote my first book, A Roof Over Their Heads, I wrote it on a desk about 2 feet wide, 1 foot deep. It was just enough to get my monitor and keyboard on. And it was squished between my bed and a window. That's where I wrote my first book. It was just in a place that was 3 feet by 3 feet. I could write anywhere. I could, the space doesn't matter, but it does matter to me. I need the quiet. Although, yes, okay, maybe sometimes I also have written quite a bit in like a quiet coffee shop, because sometimes having people around you gets you out of your head and helps to focus.
Good people watching too.
No, you can't watch people.
Visually eavesdrop, as Katie O'Connor would say.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, I'll buy that one. But I do like having my office and having my space interrupted only by the occasional cat. A room of one's own, as Virginia Woolf would say. So I do like that.
What else do you have to tell us before we go?
I'm sorry, viewers, as you're watching this, because I probably might be coming off as a little stiff, because I really, really hate talking about my work, although it is a deep passion for me, and I love talking about romance and books and every other part of it. But I must admit, when Tracey suggested that, well, if you have a book coming out, maybe you should talk about it, I was like, okay, what you were seeing here, even though it's all about me, is probably not the real me. I do love hearing from you, especially if you were to write me or leave a comment. Then you will see a little bit more of me kicking back and being the real me.
So basically, everybody needs to go buy that book in time for American Thanksgiving. It doesn't matter. You're going to see it all over your media and TV anyhow, so you might as well embrace it. Read Moira's new book, and you will not be disappointed. And then I fully expect comments on here telling us how much you liked it, and comments on her other social media platforms.
Unless, of course, you don't want to cry.
Right. If you're not into two balling.
Yes, that's right.
That's probably some horribly offensive term. I don't even know.
Oh, no.
And here I am talking about two balling, and people will be like,
that's right. Oh, no. YouTube is going to put us
Yeah, they'll
Right
flag
from the
us.
radio. Yes.
Sorry, I only mean it as bawling, right? You
Yes.
know.
Yes.
We know. We know.
Yeah, it's a totally clean romance. Very wholesome.
Well, thank you so much. I wish you much success, and I can hardly wait to finish it.
All right. Thank you, Tracey.
Bye.
Bye.